Just
Cool.
every once in a while, 9 out of 10 times it works great. At one time there's a glitch, and it
Yeah.
looks like we're good. Okay, we're working. All right. So it is being streamed on all the platforms, and let me hit record, and we'll just get right into it. 3, 2. Welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Stories. We are with another best-selling author. His name is Kale Klendworth. He has a staffing company and also has a recruiting agency. So we're going to get into both of those here in the next 45 minutes or so. But I met Kale at an event hosted by Tyler McBroom, who we all know and love. And since then, we've worked together on this book. And it's been pretty amazing just to get to know him and how he works. So, Kale, thanks so much for being here, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Well, you crushed this book. It's going to be helping, I guess you could say, everyone on the spectrum, recruiters, employers, and candidates. And what's cool about your book is, you have a section within the book that talks directly to each one of those people. So as this book goes out there, to anybody looking for a job, maybe even has a job available, or someone who connects the two like you, this book is perfect. So I think that is phenomenal. And maybe give us a quick little background on how you came to be the recruiting agency for people all across the U.S.
Absolutely. So, it's a long story, but long story short, I actually graduated college with 2 degrees that I did absolutely nothing with. I went in with agriculture. I grew up on a farm, so I thought, hey, let's go into agriculture. Let's see what I can do with that. Well, it turns out I applied to a job 92 times. This was with John Deere, so everyone's very familiar with the company John Deere. They're incorporated right in my girlfriend at the time, now wife. It was in her backyard, so I was thinking, hey, down the road, I could be working here. She can get a teaching job there. It'd work out great. Well, I applied there 92 times. I got one interview, didn't get anywhere with it. So I was thinking, well, that did not go the way I wanted it to. So I was kind of hitting panic mode, trying to find a job. And I graduated college, had 2 degrees, thought I had the whole world going for me. And then, panic kind of set in, didn't have a job. So I just luckily landed this job in recruiting. It was the staffing industry, landed a job in the staffing industry. I got very familiar with it. I touched a little bit in agriculture with that staffing industry. We helped some ag firms, but nothing compared to kind of what I'm doing now. And, I found my little niche. I figured out, hey, there's a huge hole that needs filled. And so kind of as what I like to call a little side project or side hustle, I started doing that part-time while I'm doing this staffing business, while I'm building this staffing, still learning about the recruiting staffing industry. I'm building this business on the side. And so what I did is once I got that built to a certain point where I could kind of just take 2 steps forward and jump all into it, I just ran with it. So I went full-time with this. And now, today we're one of the leading agriculture recruiting firms in the United States, and haven't looked back since. So
It's amazing. Yeah, you really specifically went after agriculture type of employers and
absolutely.
candidates, right? So that's different from most recruiting agencies, right? Because they're going after everybody, but you, by having this niche, probably allowed you to excel much faster. Do you think that the takeaway is to niche down, especially early on as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I was in staffing, we're touching everything. It's industrial, it's skilled trades. I mean, we're also in professional services. I mean, there's everything. But what I really noticed that there was just a huge hole in agriculture that needed filled. And that's what I would recommend to anybody that, might be looking to get into recruiting or, has some familiarity with a certain niche that they see a big gap in. Just go all in on that one thing. If you go all in on that one thing, and you specialize, you put all your effort towards that one thing, you will seek reward out of it. If I were to go in and I was to attack like agriculture, construction, professional services all at once, I don't think I would have seen any success because I pretty much put all my eggs in one basket. So yeah, that's that's kind of how we got started and how we ended up here. So
The book is called Recruit to Win, and it is for pretty much anybody in that world. But give me one takeaway for someone who's looking for a job. I think most of our audience has an entrepreneurial bone in their body who's trying to start their business, but maybe, they're trying to get some money put aside and they're looking for that job. What is one thing that you recommend for employers to either get their resume in order or maybe to become a master of one specific skill set so you stand above the rest? Or is there anything that you're seeing that they're doing that's completely wrong, or maybe they can make adjustments and get better success when getting hired? So what would you recommend to those looking for a job?
So people aren't going to like to hear this, but education is not everything. Just because you have a big degree, just because you graduated from this big school, that doesn't mean that you're separated from the rest.
I agree with that, right? That's everything I promote for sure. I love it.
Yep. And employers, and I'm kind of being a hypocrite of that because I graduated with 2 bachelor degrees, and I'm like, sitting here telling everyone, hey, degrees don't matter. Degrees matter in a certain industry. If you want to go out and be, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. But if you're just going out there and you're looking for something, education does not matter nowadays. Employers specifically are looking for experience, attitude, and work ethic. If you have those 3, you're going to separate yourself from the rest. If you go in there and you show a company, hey, here's my experience, this is what I've done, even if it's an entry-level job, you can tell them, hey, I built cars on the side, or I did landscaping on the side. Show employers what your skill set has, what you can bring to the table. A lot of times right now, a lot of these, especially the younger generation, they're not having anything on their resume, maybe fast food, maybe a retail store. These employers, that's great, but they want to see also a skill set. So really on your resume, make sure you have a skill set like, proficient with hand and power tools. I'm just speaking for agricultural experience. That's something that we really like to see is, hey, are they good with hand and power tools? Do they know how to run equipment? Maybe they've ran a forklift, a skid steer, anything like that. I'm just giving examples here, but if you can really, really tone in on those fine little details on your resume and then be able to elaborate those during an interview, that's what will separate you from the rest. Going in there, have a good attitude, good mindset. That's what employers are looking for nowadays.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point. Whenever I look to hire somebody, to me, I look to hire for attitude and I train for skill, right? There's got to be some type of want or dream inside their heart that says, hey, I belong here. But the attitude, I don't know if you can train that. So is that something that can be brought to the surface a lot easier during those interviews, you think?
It can. A lot of people don't interview well. And I'm one of them. I did not interview well. I was very nervous, very scared. So my attitude, my personality probably didn't come forward. It didn't show through. So that's why for employers, I always recommend, hey, do a first round phone screen. I would always recommend a first round phone screen. Just, get to know somebody, get to know them, get them to feel comfortable, get them to bring that wall down. And then when you interview them in person, it'll be a lot more of a warmer conversation that you have with them. So if you get to know them first, and then during the interview, really get to know them, that would really open the door. And I think that's something that a lot of employers miss. We get told all the time. I'm in the agriculture industry. It's a blue collar work field. These guys and girls, they don't really care for an interview. They'll show up to an interview in dirty jeans, dirty boots. That's their work ethic though. So to me, when I look at that, I think, hey, they have a great work ethic. And then if they can come into the interview and they're maybe shy or something, I look at, hey, what did I miss here? Because it shows me that, hey, they probably have a pretty good work ethic. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty. But how can I see what their attitude's like? So that's where I always say, hey, take a step back for employers and try to do that first round phone screen. That will really
a phone screen. That's what you call it. 15-20 minute phone screen.
Yeah. I call it a phone screen. You can call it just a first round initial phone call, whatever you want to call it. I always recommend getting someone on the phone first just to get the wall down, because especially nowadays, people, they're just nervous for interviews, to meet people in person, especially in an industry where you're mostly working independently. So
nice. Now let's switch it a little bit. So as an employer, as we grow, I'll be doing certain things to attract the right talent. What are employers doing right or wrong that can be tweaked a little bit so they can see a little bit more success? And maybe there's a common trend that's going on out there that they just take it for granted because, there's more jobs that are open than actually people maybe applying. Or how does the employer stand above the rest to attract the right talent and then to actually attract them and then keep them maybe?
Yeah, for sure. So two great examples on this. I've just dealt with this, just got off the phone with two of the highest operations managers with the largest companies in Illinois for agriculture, and just spoke with both those managers and owners today. And they're asking me for insight. What does the market show? What is the market telling you? What do we need to do to make sure that we're ahead of the curve? So one of the examples is there's two companies in Illinois. One company has pretty poor management, upper leadership. They just don't really have that great work culture and environment. People don't want to work for that anymore. I don't care what the dollar amount is. You can pay somebody, for example, for this position, let's just call it $20 an hour. This company could offer them $30 an hour, but they won't get any applicants because they have such a bad reputation for themselves.
Wow.
So really, make sure that you are encouraging your workforce. Make sure that they know how to grow with your company. Make sure that they see a lot of opportunity with your company, because that's what people want. People don't just want to show up for a job and then go home. They want to see challenges. They want to see more responsibility. They want to find a career path within your company. So show them that. That helps build a great culture. So that's one. We're pulling candidates from this one company all the time to go to this other company, because this other company that I'm working with, they have a great work culture. They might not pay the most, but they're open at learning what the market is paying, so then they can still stay ahead of the curve. And that's my second suggestion, is stay ahead of the curve when it comes to pay. Don't let inflation stay behind or keep you behind on pay. These companies are really struggling to keep up with the market, the way the market's going, because you're having this McDonald's, UPS, Target. All these companies are paying these very entry-level workers $20 an hour starting off. UPS definitely more skilled, and they're starting off at, I think they just said they're paying upwards of like $49 an hour to get started.
Wow.
I know that's going into a union and there's more to that, but it just goes to show that, hey, finding candidates right now for below $5 below what the market's paying is not going to happen. So a lot of my job is to be a consultant to a lot of these companies to show them, hey, this is what the market's paying. So what I recommend for employers, do your research, do your homework, reach out to a local recruiter, ask them what the market's paying, ask them, have them show you some infographics, have them show you some market data, ask for that information. I know they're going, if they want to be your partner, they're going to give you that information. Just get more familiar, get very knowledgeable of what the market is paying your employees, because otherwise your employees are going to go to these other companies that are paying more. So that's what I suggest. If you do want to work with a recruiter, you have to be at or above what the market's paying. Otherwise, these recruiters, Mike, you said it just a minute ago. There's more jobs right now than there are candidates. So these recruiters are going to focus on the jobs that can attract the best candidates. And if you're a company that you cannot pay, we're not going to be able to help you.
Yeah. And I think it's smart to go to a recruiter. I never really understood the power of them whenever I was getting started. But I did join a staffing agency one time, and I realized they have such an in with certain companies that it's a no-brainer. They're looking for great talent, and they're paid off of the results that they produce. So there is an attachment to your success. So why should an individual out there looking for a job go to a recruiting agency? I guess maybe that, or maybe why should an employer go to a company like yours? Kind of sprinkle in maybe from both sides why it's so crucial.
So why an employee should go through a recruiter is the same reason why a home buyer should go through a real estate agent. The real estate agent knows the market. They can help you do every single thing in your power to get you the house that you want for the price that you want to pay. And the same story goes for a recruiter. If you go to a recruiter, they probably already have 5 to 10 jobs for you that they can discuss with you. But just like you said, Mike, I mean, we get paid on our performance. So if you get, say a candidate is asking for $20 an hour, and say the candidate, we give them $22 an hour, we don't charge the employee for that. As a recruiter, we charge the client for that. So if anything, the employee should want to use us because we can go to battle for you. The more that we get you, the more we get in compensation. So it's pretty much like a no-brainer for someone to want to use a recruiter because we do all the battles for you. That's the nice thing. If you want to get pretty much, if you were to submit your resume right now, and this is the other thing with employers, it's really holding them back. When you have employees submit resumes, don't take 2 weeks to get back to them. Going through a recruiter, we can skip that. So we can because most likely we have connections with the HR managers, we have connections with the owners of the company, presidents of the company. So we can take your resume, pretty much hand it right to them and skip that whole process of having to apply online, fill out a long application, not know when to hear back. We can skip all that for you, pretty much cut the whole line and get you to the front door. So that's the positive of working with us. We can also give you interview tips, tricks. We've had other candidates that have interviewed with these employers. So we know exactly what they're going to ask, how they're going to ask it, and we can really guide you through that interview process to make it a very simple process for you. For an employer standpoint, you're getting all these candidates and you're going to have to filter through every single applicant that you get. That's very time consuming. That's why we have a team. That's why other recruiting companies have teams to do that. We do the legwork for you to go out and we find you the best of the best. You get to interview, you get to screen, you get to do anything you want with these candidates before you even move forward. So really it's like at no cost service until they get through the door and they start working for you.
Man, that's a good point there. It's almost like you're applying the who, not how approach. Have you read that book at all? Who, not how?
I have not. I'll have to check that one out.
You are the who for their how. So it's basically them focusing on their strengths, and then they outsource their weaknesses to you. And then you become their eyes and their ears for talent now and tomorrow. And that's what's amazing about it, is that they think that they're going to just hire this person and then it's going to work out. Well, you probably can spit out some stats, and I want to ask you about them a little bit of how long usually people stay. So you need a constant revolving door, but also people out there looking for the next best candidate. So I think that's why any employer, especially the bigger they get, right, the more they should focus on their strengths, and therefore they have someone like you looking for the perfect candidate now and tomorrow. But maybe if you can highlight some of the stats, what are you seeing out there? How many resumes do people submit before they get a call back or an interview, or how long do people stay at their jobs? What are some numbers that you can run by us?
Yeah. So, I mean, it usually takes about 2 weeks for a candidate to apply to a company to hear back. That takes way too long. It also takes about 50 days from the time that and that number is a little off, but I do believe we just ran out about a month or two ago. And I want to say it was right around 49 or 50 days that it takes from a candidate to apply to when they start working in the door. 50 days. That is a
wow. 2 months, man. You're talking 2 months. That's a lifetime for someone who needs a job.
Absolutely. And I'm talking from the minute they click apply to the minute that they walk in that door. So that's where, we come into play. We want to try to prevent that. We want to try to lower that to 2 weeks, 3 weeks at max. But I mean, 1 to 2 weeks is really what we're going for. So that's the biggest thing. I mean, we see a lot of that. It's very unfortunate because I know a lot of these companies are hurting for good employees, but they just need to have their HR team squared away, and they need to know exactly, what timeline they have, and they need to be communicative with the employees or with the applicants that are wanting to work for your company. So that's pretty frustrating, when we see that and we hear that. But that's something, that we're trying to work to improve.
Well, how about individuals who get a job? How long do they last? Are you seeing people stay at jobs way longer, or in this day and age, are people getting jobs and then moving on 2 to 4 years
Yeah, it sounds
afterwards?
like you
What's
already
happening?
know the answer to that one. Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to
yeah.
get to the answer. Yeah, you know
Yeah, no,
exactly.
no, for sure. I mean, that's definitely a struggle. I mean, these companies are seeing a lot of turnover. I mean, that's anywhere. You're seeing a lot of turnover where, candidates start working 2 weeks in, they quit the job. I don't know the timeline, but I know that, hey, if the candidate is there within 30 days, is still working for you after 30 days, there's a really good chance they're going to be with you for longer than a year. That's kind of what I tell these employers because, we give our employers or we give our clients a guarantee. So, we give them a guarantee that our candidates will be there for a certain period of time. Otherwise, your money back. So that's something too, that is a positive of working with a recruiter. You can pretty much be guaranteed that you're going to find success out of this candidate. So, I mean, if you're a candidate looking for a job, my recommendation is make sure you find the right one and you don't job hop because these recruiters, these employers, they do not want to see job hoppers. If you see these employees jumping job to job to job, you're not going to stand out as a candidate and you're going to have a pretty hard time finding the job of your dreams because you've done all this job hopping. So
And that's a good point there. You as a recruiter are not trying to take everybody. You will fire people, right?
exactly. Oh
You will
yeah.
not take on
Oh
individuals
yeah.
if you notice how they don't show up to a
Yep.
meeting, they don't answer a phone call when they need to, or if they
Yep.
make you look bad whenever you have them pass all your tests and then they still screw up on day one, right?
Exactly. So if you burn a bridge with us, there's a slight chance we give you a second chance. If you did a second chance with us, you're lucky. But if you quit answering us, if you don't follow up with us, if you quit, right away, don't call us back to help you out because we're not going to. We try to make sure that we have the best brand out there. We want to make sure that, hey, if you're getting a candidate from AdRecruit or from Klendworth, you can guarantee that they'll be an excellent standout candidate. So, that's what I also recommend. Even if you're working with a recruiter, say you don't even like them for some reason, don't burn a bridge with them. I can tell you that right now because I can guarantee you that recruiter has connections with other companies that you're probably wanting to apply to. So all I can say is do not burn a bridge with anybody just because you don't want to kick yourself in the butt for that one.
So you get to meet people maybe at their darkest hour, right? These individuals potentially just lost their job.
Yep.
And I would assume you see individuals redefine their life, create a new identity, and find that dream job that was just maybe a little bit too difficult to capture earlier on in their life. And maybe you are able to be the facilitator for that. So can you tell us a little bit about how you're able to help individuals maybe redefine their life, find that purpose again, or get that dream job? Because as you know, I post a lot about the entrepreneur mindset, and that's really my target audience. Obviously, when it comes to books, I have met individuals who just love their jobs. So I will never bash anybody who goes after their jobs and their purposes or their purpose or their dream jobs that they've been searching for their whole lives, and that's where they belong. So you are able to connect the dots and maybe do that for individuals. So can you kind of highlight how you do so, or what are some of the great examples that you've run into or saw
Yeah.
firsthand?
So to back up a little bit, I will say this. Even if you're at your darkest hour, you just got fired from a job, tell me what your skills are. Don't tell me your experience a little bit, but if you just got fired, there's probably a good chance you're not going to get a good reference from your previous job. But if you can tell me, hey, I've done this, this, and this is my skill set, this is the job that I'm looking for, we can help you out there. We can kind of, hey, we can say, hey, let's, retrace your steps here a little bit. Let's figure out what exactly you want to do. But for really any candidate, I mean, what we do that's so unique is we don't just ask you what's on your resume and we don't just ask you your skill set. We want to know your hobbies. So that's something that I always preach to my recruiting team is get to know somebody, figure out what their hobbies are. There's a lot of times where I have my recruiters bring me candidates and I'll ask the recruiter, hey, what's their hobbies? It has nothing to do with the resume, but I want to know who this person is by their personality, by their attitude. Are they into sports, or do they have a family to provide for? I mean, a lot of those key details determine whether this person's getting the job or not. It could be a situation where, hey, this person just got fired, but they're going to do anything in their mind because they have a family of four to provide for. So this is why they're going to show up. This is why they're going to work really hard for this job. So there's a lot of instances, everything definitely, comes within reason. You have to really tread carefully, do your due diligence with these candidates, really get to know them as a person, in order for us to put your mark on them. But that goes for anybody. So, that's why I always say, get to know their hobbies, get to know their skill sets, always try to ask them very detailed questions about their life. Get very, very personal with them, because then they will open up with you. They'll trust you more. They'll put pretty much their career in your hands as a recruiter. So
I think it's important just to realize how life really does happen for you, not to you. So it can be the greatest moment in your life for you to begin anew, right? And to go after that dream job. And maybe you would never have done it. You would never have gone after that one specific trade or honed in on that craft unless that devastating phone call or fax or email ever came into your inbox, right? So it's incredible, the power of perspective. I guarantee maybe you have to coach some people saying, hey, this is a new chapter. This can be the greatest day of your life. And
yep.
I would say the ones who become very successful are able to understand that from the get-go. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of times where some candidates that we work with, they just don't get that. They just want to use us to get their foot in the door. And that's where, I kind of use the term, we're going to hold their hand. We're going to hold their hand all the way through the process. We're going to really do everything that we can to help this candidate. But I also tell my recruiters, we cannot want the job more than they want it. The candidate has to want the job more than we want it. Do we get compensated if we get the position filled? Absolutely, but that's not why we're in it. We are in this to help the candidates find the right job of their dreams. That's why we do what we do. And that's why we only work with the best of the best employers. So, a lot of times it's very frustrating as a recruiter. And I know any recruiter will probably hear this and laugh. But it's definitely difficult when you have to pretty much hold the hand of the candidates. So, that's a little tip for if you're a candidate looking for a new role, going through a recruiter, do everything you can to help out the recruiter as well. Give them all the information that they are seeking for, because I mean, at the end of the day, you want to get this job. And if you can give them everything you can to do this job, why wouldn't you do that? So
excellent, man. Have you noticed any type of common trend amongst the most successful? Like, you just brought up a great fact that individuals are coming to you with a family of four, and maybe there's just angst and drive behind those individuals that get them to move the needle in their life. So have you noticed anything when it comes to age, or is there a family, or is there a certain industry that you're noticing a lot of drive and success in those people?
I would say, the more skilled that you are. So what I mean by that is, it comes with experience, because a lot of these candidates that we're working with, they have a lot of years of experience. There's a lot of pride that goes into that. They pride themselves. Hey, I've been operating this piece of machinery for 10 to 15 years. They want to be known as, hey, I'm the lead operator. So like, there's a lot of pride that goes into this work of the blue collar work field, which is awesome. I mean, I grew up on a family farm. Trust me, I know exactly what that means. My dad's a farmer. There's a lot of pride that goes into that work. So, it's really a point where the recruiters, you have to know that these candidates have a lot of pride in their work, and they want to work for the best of the best. They want to work with the best companies. So that's where you just have to really figure out, hey, what drives this person? Is it money? Is it family? Are they relocating? Like what drives them? And then you got to match that up with the right company. It could be a situation. I mean, a lot of times the best recruiters will have a candidate interview at several different places and then let the candidate choose what they want. So
Nice. The book is called Recruit to Win, guys. And it is an Amazon best-selling book as of right now. There you go. Oh, you got the sticker on it already. I got to get the sticker.
I do. Yes.
Is that the hardcover too?
It is. I like
Oh
it.
my
I
God,
like
I got
it.
to order the hardcover to have that
Oh,
available.
yeah.
So it's on Amazon. It's a bestseller. Just give us your thoughts on putting out your book. And what was the process like? What did you learn about yourself? How much clarity did you obtain in your life, in your direction? Just give me the initial feedback.
All right. Well, if you want me to be honest, I'll be honest. So
Yeah, I do.
I hated reading. I absolutely hated reading. That I grew up hating to read. It's because in school you were pretty much forced to read, and I don't like being forced to do anything. So I hated reading. I think that was just my mindset, my personality. And then, as I grew older, I got more involved in personal development, started to read more, opened a few books, started reading a few books. I think back in 2019, I had a goal to read 52 books in a year, a book a week.
Wow.
After that, I hit 26, but to me, that was a huge accomplishment. I still read 26 books in a year. So that's really, kind of opened my eyes to the book, the whole, writing a book. I always thought about writing a book. Then I'm like, what would I even write about? And then I went to that conference with the McBroom conference, and I listened to Mike up on stage, and I'm like, dude, I'm never writing a book. What the hell is this guy talking about? Literally, like a month later, I'm emailing Mike, hey, can I write a book? Can I sign up with you? So I mean, never. My piece of advice: don't ever say never. But no, I mean, it was great writing this book. Having to proofread it a million times. I mean, it was a very interesting several months to get this book done, because I never thought it was going to be possible. Now it's something I can definitely check off my bucket list. But I learned a lot of just about our recruiting process though as a company. You really do a lot of reflection when you go through and you write this book. I mean, you do just a lot of reflection on, hey, how does my business operate? Are we operating at the highest rhythm? Or, what are some things that we can tweak, that I want to make sure readers know? I'm a guy who I will only speak honesty. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to, go out there and say to do this, but I actually don't do that. So it's just something, be true to your word when writing this book. I mean, that's something that I always had to tell myself is like, just going through this whole book writing process. It's like going to my recruiters, because that's what I would always do. It was kind of a project with my recruiting team, is I would ask them for, suggestions. Hey, what do you want to see in the book? What pieces of information did I teach you as you got started? And then they would throw out bullet points and, little things that they found.
And it probably became your table of contents, right?
It did. So that helped me. That definitely helped me a lot. So my suggestion is, asking around, ask people for, tips and tricks on what you can add into the book, because a lot of people have a different perspective than you. And it's really interesting to the readers, I feel like.
So you have a chapter called WIFT, the acronym, what's in it for them. And I'm all about the service mindset. I've realized that the key to life is just to be of service to the many, for service to the many leads to greatness. I say that over and over. It's a Jim Rohn approach to life. So is that what you're saying in this chapter, that you almost have to reverse engineer what's the employer looking for? And if you're the employer, what's the candidate looking for? And if you're the recruiter, you're almost kind of solving two problems at once. So what's in it for them? Is that how you approach everything? And what have you noticed when you started to adopt that philosophy?
Yeah, it's definitely the approach that we take, every day going into recruiting. And really the what's in it for them mindset is when you're having a conversation with these candidates and even with these employers. I'll start with the candidates. When you're having these conversations, you have to come from a perspective of, hey, how can we help you? Like I said earlier, you don't want to hold their hand throughout the whole process. You're going to have to sometimes, but you cannot want the job more than they want it. You have to figure out, hey, why do you want to work with me? What if I can find you this job? So a lot of times, and recruiters, when they hear this, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about too. But a lot of times these recruiters will have one job and they only want to fill that one job, because then they're done. They've been working on this position for so long. They found the candidate, they just want to send it to them. Well, the recruiter needs to take a step back. Is that really what the candidate wants? Do they want to fill your one job just so that you did this last job filled? No, they probably don't. This candidate, you have to know, hey, what does the candidate want? You have to know what drives them. You need to know a lot about this candidate, their hobbies, everything. That way you can get familiar with them, get familiar with what they want to do, and then you can figure out what their career path is. And then you can help them from there. So that's kind of how you take that approach, what's in it for them with the employees, with the candidates. But from the employer aspect, I mean, that one gets a little more, not really tricky, but you do have to pretty much solve two equations at once, because you have to find the right candidate, but at the same time too, for the employer, you have to make sure that that right employee is what they're looking for. They're the ones that are paying your bills. So, you really have to figure out, hey, is this candidate, am I going to send this candidate to the employer just because we found a candidate for him? Or is this candidate someone who we think would be an excellent fit for him? So you got to really figure out, hey, why would the company want to look at our employees? So, it definitely goes both ways, but the what's in it for them, it's all about service. It's all about treating your people right. It's always about doing the right thing. And that's, if you're out there and you're not doing the right thing and you're just trying to make a quick buck, you're not going to last long, especially in the recruiting industry. So my biggest piece of advice is take a step back, service your people, and let it do the rest. So
beautiful. Now, you grew up with the blue collar mentality, much like myself. Now, you were on a farm, and I really did see my dad as a heating and air conditioning guy, and I was a landscaper and, cutting grass and in construction. And with everything that's happening in the world technology wise, I do believe the blue collar mentality, that work ethic that's ingrained in us, is going to serve us more and more as time goes on. What would you say about that? Are you noticing people not having that certain work ethic, or are you seeing in the agriculture world that never dies and those people are going to win wherever they go?
So it's dying. It's definitely dying. That's, it's definitely sad to say, but it's true. I mean, you look nowadays, kids are playing Minecraft and Fortnite and all this, they're not out there, working in the field. So when I grew up, and I'm just speaking from example, I was told, hey, go mow the grass or go get in the tractor. Those are my two options. Nowadays, it's, hey, get off your computer, get off your Xbox, whatever it is. So, there's just a lot. I think that's definitely not helping the case. But those that are wanting to work have an opportunity right in front of them, because these jobs, especially in agriculture, they're never going away. They're never getting replaced by AI. You can put a computer tractor and you can send the tractor in the field, but you're going to have to still fill the field or fill the tractor full of chemical. You're going to still have to connect the implements together. Like, there's just so much that goes into it that will never be replaced by AI. And you just have to know that. I mean, in the white collar field, that's definitely, I can see AI is taking a lot of these new jobs, this new technology is changing. But this blue collar field, I mean, I could not stress enough for these high schoolers, these college students who, are wanting to figure out a career path. I mean, this blue collar industry is never going away. Just like you said, HVAC, that's something that'll always be around. Electrical, something that's always going to be around. I mean, figure out a really good skill set and stick to it, become an expert in it, and you will find yourself one hell of a career path. I can promise you that.
Yeah, you brought up a great point. I wanted to allude to something that I've learned, and there's that great quote that's a jack of all trades, a master of none. Well, the original phrase out there is a jack of all trades, a master of one. If you can hone in on one skill set, one craft, you will always be in demand. And in the blue collar world, that's never going away, right? When it comes to HVAC, fixing roofs, whatever, even the construction side of the house, it's never going away. I mean, maybe hundreds of years from now, you're going to have robots doing a lot of that, but not for the foreseeable future. So I think everybody who, even in the plumbing world, we all know, I think, Roger Wakefield, right? Yep. Roger Wakefield, the #1 plumber on YouTube. I'm good friends with him. I mean, when is a robot going to go in and fix the leaky pipe? It's never happening. Right. So therefore, they can name their price. It's a beautiful time to be in the trades.
Yep. The only scary thing that I have to say on that though is what I see a lot of is a lot of these candidates are going out and they're trying this one skill set, or they're trying this one like let's just say plumber. They're trying plumbing. Hey, plumbing's not for me. I'm gonna go try electrical. Electrical is not for me. I'm gonna go try running a tractor. Tractor's not for me. And then they're just pushing their career back and back and back. What I recommend is just do a lot of research. Take a full year. Let's just say take a year, become an expert. I mean, you go to school, you go to college for 4 years to learn a degree that you probably will never use.
Right.
Why not just put in, 1 year of effort into learning what you truly want to do for the rest of your life, become an expert in that industry, in that field, and then find a career path from there. There's so many opportunities. So my example is, say that you're a plumber, you learn that, hey, plumbing is something that I'm good at. It's something that I really want to find interest, or that I have a lot of interest in. Become an expert in plumbing, and you will find a career path beyond galore, rather than trying to go to the next thing just because you don't think it's for you. So that's what I suggest. We see a lot of people. It's very unfortunate, when we see a very skilled employee quit a job just because they lose passion for it. You're not going to wake up every day and love what you do. I mean, I know that's a lot of these gurus out here saying, hey, you got to love what you do. You don't have to every single day. I mean, tell me one person that wakes up every single day and absolutely loves what they do, because every day you're going to have hard days. I mean, that's why you become successful in what you do, is because you're challenged every single day and you're going to have these difficult, hard moments. So that's what I suggest. I mean, you're going to have some rough patches, but stick with it and you're going to be an expert. You're going to have a great career path.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that most people want to do business with committed individuals. And if you have a track record, if you have breadcrumbs behind you that shows that you are a constant student, you've been in it a long time, you have mastered your craft, the world opens up for you. And not only does it make it easier on you to continue on your path, but the world finds you, making your bank account much more healthy in the end.
Absolutely.
So last two questions. I know we're running out of time. Number one is, you talked about 26 books in a year. Give us a book. This is called $1 Million Stories. What is a book that changed your life, or what you recommend to another person out there? Maybe as an entrepreneur, maybe as a candidate for a job, maybe as an employer, just one that will really maybe adjust their path. One.
If I had to say one, give me 1 second. I can find it for you. And I will.
Look at this nice office, guys. This is how you do a background. Look how good that looks with the book on the shelf.
That's the one that I love. It's
of course,
right behind you. Yeah,
100%.
Really, really, I could read this for days.
No wonder we get along so well.
This is the book that, man, you read this once and it just opens your mindset. Not only because he invests in real estate and it just teaches you a lot about financials, but I mean, it just really teaches you a lot about. From my perspective, I learned through this book that just because, school teaches you one thing, or just because one person teaches you one thing, there's always going to be another way. There's always going to be a way to success, even when you have people pulling you down. So that's kind of what I take a lot out of this book. There's so many viewpoints that I would take, but I mean, I would definitely recommend The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So
Robert Kiyosaki, once you look into that, how that book was created by hiring Sharon Lechter, once I realized how I can maybe do that for the everyday entrepreneur. So that was number one, a book that changed the course of my life, but number two, changed my business. So definitely the most impactful book that I've ever read. The next question, final question. You are recently a father, new father. What is that like? Entrepreneur, business owner, wife, kid, what has the adjustment look like?
My why has definitely changed. I wake up every day and, I have pictures right here of my son of, hey, this is what I'm working for. This is who I want to provide for. This is what I want to build. I want to build something that he can eventually come into and help out with. So, being a father, a lot of people say, how do you have the time to balance all this? You find time. I mean, you find time with your priorities. So that's my biggest suggestion is, make sure that you know exactly what your priorities are in life. Figure out what your why is, because once I figured out what my why is, I read the book Find Your Why back in 2019. And I mean, that really changed my perspective, because it's like I woke up every day and I didn't know what I was working for. And then once you kind of figure out, hey, what's driving you? What is it in you that, you want to get out of bed for? And once you can figure that out, I promise you it's a game changer.
Is it Start With Why by Simon Sinek? Is that one?
Start with why. There you go. Yep.
Good deal.
Yep.
I was thinking about that.
So,
And
yep.
yes, you are 100%. I've noticed after interviewing so many entrepreneurs, when they had a newborn baby, I noticed that they became way more efficient with their time, and they took bigger risks, and they built their business in a different way, which did a lot for maybe time freedom. Have you noticed yourself maybe second guessing moves because it might yield money, but it would take away time, and you're building the business in a way that's way more efficient, but more scalable? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 2 months after having the newborn, we hired our second employee, and now we're already talking about moving that second employee to take over some of the clients that I landed. So it's taking a lot off of my plate, but I'm also having a lot of risk, because these employers that I'm working with, that I've built a relationship for with years, they're now going to have a new face that they're going to be talking to. And, there's a lot of risk in that.
I noticed that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. So that's definitely a huge risk, but it comes with a lot of reward, because it'll free up my time to now build this second company that we just launched this year as well, which is a staffing company, Klendworth. We service a lot of the light industrial and skilled trade industry. We focus primarily throughout the Midwest. So the reason we started it, I'm not going to keep us too long here, but the reason I started is because I found a lot of these candidates, maybe they applied for the job, but maybe their passion is in agriculture. And so I figured out, hey, I need to find them a job that follows their passion. So that's why we started this Klendworth, so we can help these other candidates for other jobs. And starting that was a huge risk, a lot of capital up front, but it's coming out to, we started to get the wheels turning on that. I know it's going to be a big project of mine for years to come. So
the book is called Recruit to Win: The Art of Recruiting for Success, Purpose, and Longevity. The websites agrecruit.com and Klendworth. That's with an X at the end. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So check that out. And your Instagram handle. I know if you search Kale Klendworth, it pops up, but you do have a unique one. What is it? Is it I thought it was AG, it was something unique. I just want to make sure.
All right. I don't know, Mike. I thought no, you're correct. It's at Kale Klendworth. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Okay. I for some reason thought maybe that was a different.
You're making me double guess myself there. So yeah.
Okay. All right. It is Kale Klendworth on Instagram. Get in touch with him, guys. If you're looking for a job, or if your employer looking to hire the right people, it is agrecruit.com and Klendworth.com. Kale Klendworth, thanks so much for being here. Pick up his book. It's an Amazon bestseller, and I do recommend getting the hardcover. I need one of those for here. So thank you, Kale. I appreciate it, man. And if there's anything we can do to help out, we're here for you. So anything last you want to say? I got to say, if you're thinking about writing a book, go through Mike and his team. They made the process extremely simple. They're very cost effective, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. So thanks, Kale. Means a lot, man. Now, obviously, with everything that's going on in the world, for you to be able to get your book done while you're growing your company and having a baby, there is no excuse out there, guys. Get your book done. It will change your life, and more so, it will change your business. Absolutely. Remember, $1 million book will lead to $1 million life. We'll see you next time.